Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Living with Philosophy. We got a special guest with us today. Look, it's Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
We got Opie and we've got
Happy to be
Barry
here.
with us. It's been a month, and we kind of pseudo-skipped last month because it was the 4th of July. And so people were busy on the 4th of July, as they do, as the Americans over there on that side like to do.
Celebrating our independence. Yes.
Yeah, something like that. Should we go a quick run around and see who everybody is and how everybody's doing before we jump into our topic today? Yes, yes, yes. Opie, what's up? You go first.
Pretty good. Was good. I'm going to see a Cubs game after this, but what's it good? Ran 12 miles, so that's been my day so far.
That's a really big improvement because you started like not too long ago, right? Started running.
This year, but yeah, no. So no, I have a half marathon in September, and I hope to get sub 145 on it. So
that's cool. Chris, who are you? What's going on? How you been?
Hi, I am a cult guy who talks about the psychology of coercive control on YouTube. And my latest, greatest news is that I wrote another book about cult recovery that I just posted or published this
fuck yeah, you did.
April of this year, and
awesome.
And I am still in the middle of recording, editing the audiobook version. It'll be out soon. And I am been doing a weekly workshop where we meet and actually go through the book chapter by chapter, and that's been kind of fun too.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to buy.
So I'm like the cult guy, and I talk about stuff way outside my zone of expertise.
Well, don't we all?
That's this whole.
Welcome to Debate Hub.
This whole show. No, yeah. This is this whole show.
Yeah. But I have strong opinions about things, and I love debating and talking, so let's do it.
Good, fantastic. Barry, what's going on? How are you?
Never mind about me. Let me tell you about this guy. Okay, Chris Shelton, let me tell you. I was on one of Chris's shows, right? He invited me onto his YouTube, and we did a discussion.
What a mistake.
I was struck because I was expecting to hear some of these strong opinions that Chris has, and then we'd have like a back and forth, and we'd learn things about each other and blah, blah, blah. We agreed on pretty much everything. And not just that, it was disturbing how much we were on the same page about literally everything. And not only that, but when the show went out, it was the lowest rating show Chris has done for about 100 videos in either direction. I got bored of scrolling, looking for like a lower number, and I was thinking, yeah, fair enough. Like, it was just two guys getting along. Who wants to watch that? You know,
no conflict at all.
I even slipped in a Neil Diamond reference, hoping that he'd say, "Oh no, that's stupid." He came back with a better one. Right, so there we go. That's Chris.
Wholesome competition.
Yeah.
Very wholesome.
You got to up your rage bait game.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I need to get more conflict.
You remember that, Chris? How well we got along.
Non-averse.
Fucking embarrassing for the both of us. Like, well, I agree with you.
I'll write a book then. The particular art of making people mad.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just sequel your grandma's book or something. I don't know.
Oh no, I can make people mad, but only if I'm in a relationship with them.
Nobody's gonna get that.
Yeah.
No, nobody's gonna get that.
My grandma wrote a book.
Best,
all right. Let's get into our topic. Our topic today is just sort of like a general statement that was made, and the statement was, it was just like a Reddit statement. It was, religion has no place in modern society. So there is the obvious yes or no answer you could give, but obviously things like this are always far more confident than yes or no. I'm gonna say no. I do not think that statement is correct. I think I have an idea of where the statement is going and kind of what the statement wants to get across, and I can sort of agree with the direction, but not the statement as a true fact. Let's just keep going in this direction. Opie, what do you think? And then we'll go to Chris, and then we'll go to...
I also disagree with that statement. I mean, like, to a degree, we all do something that's sort of religious in our lives anyways, even if it's not a conventionally, one of the Abrahamic religions or Eastern religions. You're doing something that's seeking meaning, and that's still part of your society. So,
yeah. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I clearly would come down on the side that religion definitely has use and utility in our society these days. But I definitely understand why or at least some of the reasons why people might put a position like that forward. It's a hot topic, and it kind of always has been. So it's always got controversy and conflict connected with it, but that's not all that there is to the picture of religion in our history and on our planet. So no, I definitely think it has a place in modern society.
What do you think, Barry?
I'm interpreting as to mean like religion should have no place, and then I'll say, yeah, sure. But with so many footnotes that it turns into kind of the opposite. Like it's like Chris said, he said it has like functions and so on beyond oh, there's a God. It has other functions, but I think those functions can be satisfied in non-supernatural ways. But myself and Chris were talking about that on his podcast before, and it seems almost like a war crime to set up one thing without having the other thing ready for it. You're just dropping people into the muck, you know? And I think, so yeah, I agree with it, but with so many footnotes.
I think I would go with the idea of, I don't hate the concept, but I don't think society is currently at that place right now, nor do I think society is currently moving in a place that it's going to make that a possibility anytime soon. But also, I would, like just globally. Okay. But I'm sure you might be able to find like a small area that you might be able to convince me of, but overall I would probably say no. But I would point out that there's one big like hook caveat in here is the definition of genocide, because religion is very culturally based. And so if you try to get rid of a religion, you're doing a genocide. So if you try to remove all religion, you're kind of doing a genocide. It's one thing to have people. Take. It's one thing if society is on its own moving on.
I'd like to change my answer.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go for it.
If anyone from The Hague is watching, I'd like to change my answer.
Would you say then in a similar way, like say in the future veganism is successful, getting rid of all the non-vegans is also a genocide then?
Like, well, is eating meat a cultural or a necessary part of culture?
It can be a culture.
I'd be like, if you try to obliterate spaghetti, you're not obliterating all of Italian culture, right?
No.
So I wouldn't say getting rid of one thing that is part of a culture would be getting rid of it, getting rid of a whole culture.
Well,
so like if I wanted to be mean about it, because it's Debate Hub and I'm allowed, if I get rid of pedophilia, am I destroying American politics and their culture?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Is that genocide? Question mark?
In the 1960s, Enver Hoxha banned religion in Albania, right?
Right.
So I don't think you could call that a genocide. He just banned religion in his country, and nobody was allowed. Most of them were Muslims, but he banned all religion. You know, so I don't know. I mean, that's not really a genocide, is it?
No, it's strictly speaking, it's not. But it's also an impossibility. You know.
Yeah. I didn't say it was successful, but I don't think it was an attempted genocide.
Yeah, you can have people
I thought
trying.
That was a rather strong claim.
I'd like to keep my original answer in that case. Thank you.
Yeah, there are things that you could. There's people think of things a lot in black and white, like genocide or not genocide, and genocide is a little bit more complicated than I think people give it credit for. Where it's like there's part of it is like a little bit intentional, part of it is like, no, I'm trying to get rid of every individual who believes in this religion, whether or not that's like globally or in an area that would generally spread out, right? So it's the same with like a culture or a race or a
also
religion, race, and creed is generally the three.
But religion-based genocides also have been like misattributed. Like to take the same example again, when the Serbs went and wanted to decide they want to kill all the people in Kosovo, right? When they were selling the genocide to their own people domestically, they said, "Oh, we're going to get rid of all the Albanians out of Kosovo." And it's the guy, the vice president, there's a clip of him saying this. There will be no Albanians left in Kosovo, right? That's the actual phrase he used. That's a sign, right? But when he was talking to people outside of Serbia, he always used the word Muslims. So to me, that means that not only is it not a religious... yeah, it's not a religious genocide, but they know exactly what they're doing, why they're doing it, and that they're painting a different picture for outsiders who are just
Right.
Muslim. There's a whole gang of Westerners who think Muslims equal bad. So
Right.
they were kind of saying, yeah, this will be easy enough to leverage, you know?
Yeah.
And that's cult leader 101 stuff, you know? It's how to talk to your
The
audience.
the
and get
two
them on your side.
cameras running at the same time, camera 1 and camera 2, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Cool.
Right. It's knowing your audience and what's going to trigger them.
I just think that
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of when it comes to religion and the way people talk about religion online as atheists, particularly newer atheists, like a fresh atheist, like somebody who's new into atheism and is kind of figuring it out. There's two main things that can happen, and one is people get mad. People be big old angry. So a lot of their language is really aggressive and not necessarily
Yeah.
intentionally so in the way that they actually want it to be. And sometimes it is also just there's a lot of like those influencers, people like that will get their hooks in you when they have like a political movement that they're trying to do.
Absolutely,
And if you're trying
yeah.
to do a political, I don't mean to call out anybody directly, the ACA, but like they do this thing where they don't like debrief the people that are coming out of these things, like what Chris Shelton's book does. Oh, weird! What a weird! Oh,
That's where I come from. Absolutely,
He's
I
right, though.
agree.
He's right.
You know, because I think you're dealing with a lot of trauma drama with a lot of that. You know, it's just people who come out of these groups and they have been abused, they've been coerced, they've been manipulated in ways that they didn't appreciate, which finally sparks some kind of moral outrage, and they go, "Hey, that's not cool," and they move away from that belief set. But all of us pendulum swing, or a lot of us do, to all bad, all good, and that's a mistake we all make. And it's
but justifiable
something
anger, like,
eventually.
justifiably annoyed.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The mistake is not that you feel feelings. The mistake is then concluding, oh, this entire thing is horrible and must be obliterated off the face of the earth because I was harmed by it. And that's, of course, not a very nuanced position when it comes to something as broad as religion. You know?
And like what Chesh said there, then the bad actors will grab a hold of you and push you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny. You know what interests me most now is not the fact that that happens. It's the fact that people get stuck there, because it's been my experience with myself and working with other people over the years, and I guess it's been a little bit more than a decade that I've been out of Scientology doing this stuff. That people that pendulum swing does happen. Eventually, the emotions kind of fade as time and distance and therapy and education come in, and the person starts dealing with and processing all that pain and trauma and the emotions of it. All valid, all necessary work. But when that happens, they tend to come out of the black and white binary of the that the group instilled in them, and they become more spectrum, gray, lots of shades of gray kind of thinkers. So I'm always interested in the people who don't have that happen, because I'm always
You know what it is? You know what it is?
I think it's a multiple.
There's two things happening here, I think. First of all, I think they're being rewarded at some level, socially or some way. And secondly, I think if you've come out of a mass movement that's now you understand now has been fucking you for years, and they're hungry for some kind of connection and belonging. And like flat earthers, if you have a bunch of lonely people looking for a community, I mean, here's one, and we're not going to judge you, or we're not going to make fun of you or anything. And like the reason that they send Jehovah's Witnesses outside to talk to people, the slamming the door is the point. That's not the slamming of the door is not a lack of success. That's the point of sending people out to people's houses. Because when you get mass rejection, you tend to become more insular, and you build a kind of a more thingy thing around you. So I think that's what's happening with the people who don't balance out the way when you point to your ideal path with therapy and so on.
The thing with
fair enough.
The pendulum,
agreed. I think people need to be incentivized to stay where they are. And the other thing I think is also that money, power, influence, whatever it is that's satisfying their emotional needs.
Yeah.
And also there's another thing. It's a small thing. It's a small slice of this. It's not the bigger picture of it. But I do think that there's also the fact that, well, narcissists aren't just cult leaders. Sometimes people with narcissistic tendencies or other issues, it doesn't have to be narcissism, go into these groups. and then come out of these groups and initially look and act just like a person who doesn't have that kind of disorder. And then over time, it becomes apparent that, you know, their entire world has always been about them. And that's why they ended up leaving the group. Now they're trying to make the outside group all about them.
Mm.
And this is, unfortunately, over the last 10 years, I think, with raised awareness of cults and manipulation and coercive control, there's been this sort of, you get rewarded for victimhood.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so I think people can, again, be incentivized to stay there, you know?
Yeah. I
Some
think with the
people
pendulum,
can't cope with the clash of reality and kind of just stay inside that cave, basically. So
well, it's a
too, as
pattern.
well.
Yeah.
So it's just an
it's a thinking
emotional,
pattern.
yeah, it's an emotional incentive, not just an external one. So
That's what
That's
I
right.
mean when I say they don't, like, when this kind of stuff happens, and whether it's like bringing somebody in from another religion, whether it's bringing somebody from a religion to atheism or agnosticism or wherever they're moving to, shifting from one thing to another, is if you don't debrief, you are going to maintain the same thinking habits. And so when your same
Exactly.
thinking habits are staying the same, you're just bringing whatever things you didn't like from over here just straight over here, and it's still the same thing. You're gonna run into the exact same problems because
Yeah.
it's the same. You didn't actually make any
Well,
real
not-
functional
we're
changes.
Not
creature
only
of
that,
habits.
Yeah,
Right.
but not only that, but sometimes when you finally manage to explain to somebody what a cult is, the following week they find another cult, and that's different.
Right.
We've had numerous
That's right.
cases of that kind of thing happening in real life. Like,
Oh yeah. Oh, recidivism, and you know, in terms of going from one cult to another or going back to the cult you were part of, it's a higher percentage than I'm comfortable with. I really hate that happens. But
speaking of higher
you know.
percentage than you're comfortable with. Okay.
Tune in
Okay.
next
Well, I
month.
mean by that, I've heard different numbers, right? So, I mean, I've heard as high as 75%, which
Fuck
I don't
off.
think that's true, but I do think it's a
75%.
high number.
That does seem high.
Wow.
Why would you go
Yeah,
back
that's
to
3 out
Scientology?
of
Like, no
4
matter
don't-
how lonely you were, Jesus Christ. Can you imagine going back to
Yeah,
that shit
no, it's-
circuit?
You'd be
No.
surprised what loneliness will do to a
But
human
also,
psychology.
what a narcissist can do with the roller coaster of building up and crashing you down, that build up
Yeah.
is just a high.
We could trauma
Yep.
bond it to an organization.
Yeah, it blows. It really does.
I think
And
what
when
I'm
you're out-
saying
and the
is that-
uncertainty and confusion of leaving is just so rough for people that
Of course, yeah.
they just looking
Yeah.
for stability. You know?
I think what I'm saying is that the thing you believe in doesn't change the way you think about things.
Exactly.
So if you change the way, like if you believe in God and you go from believing in God to believing there is no God, or not believing there is a God, however you want to put it, lactheism, I don't care. If you decide to go that route, you haven't changed your thought pattern about like the way you think. All you've done is sub one thing into for another thing. So until
Yeah,
you
that's right.
debrief your thought process, and this is not necessarily like you don't have to come from a horribly abusive church or something or living situation to have habits. You grew up there. You have habits. And I just don't find that a lot of places spend very much time addressing this pendulum swing in a healthy manner and in a safe place. I'll put it that way.
Or a toll.
Because you need to do it. Like you're like how far you go and whether or not you're being reasonable is to be debated, but you are going to pendulum swing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's this phenomena that really helps explain an awful lot of the conflict and hate that can be in the atheist space, for example,
Sure.
compared to, you know, the religious space. You come out of a hardcore religion and you're just indoctrinated to think certain ways and act certain ways. And even if you dump Jesus, you're still acting through those same habits, you know?
Yeah.
Scientology has a principle of attack, never defend. Attack, never defend, right?
Yep.
Somebody comes at you, you go at them, right?
Yeah.
And that can become habituated behavior, and you leave
Yeah.
and you're no longer believing in Xenu, but somebody comes at you, it's attack, never
Because
defend.
that's not the part.
right?
It's not the part you're thinking of when you're deciding about your theology. A lot of the time, you're not
That's right.
thinking about
That's
the
right.
way you're thinking. You're just thinking about whether or not you believe whatever this belief is. The system itself and the habits you've picked up from being inside of that system are ostensibly independent.
Yeah.
right? There's nothing stopping
Right.
you from being a good Christian person or being a good Mormon person or being a good X, Y, or Z person, but
But
there's nothing also stopping you from being a piece of shit.
Yeah,
God the
exactly.
Scummer for 2 said an us versus them mentality is good for cults. Yeah.
Yep.
Classic.
Yeah.
This is a
Good
classic.
for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Because the other thing about these groups, of course, that gets bandied about that is completely wrong is how aberrant they are, how bizarre and unusual and weird, and I would never, because that's just so weird.
Mhm.
And it's like, once you kind of get a little bit of more nuanced understanding of this, then you realize, no, it's just all typical human behavior that people do all over the place all the time. It's just amped up. You just dial, Spinal Tap,
Smitty
right?
in the
Dial it up
chat
to 11.
has a good point. It says, I think there can be a problem with atheists being angry at Christians instead of Christianity themselves. If Christianity is the problem, then Christians are victims. And depends on what you're talking about, right? And what your
that's a good point.
perspective is. But that's a good
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
That's right. That's one of the biggest struggles is differentiating between the person and the beliefs, or the structure, the system they're caught in, versus the individual and choices that they have available to them.
Compartmentalization is a practice skill.
We pretend everybody's got all these choices that they really don't have.
Yeah.
And we lay it on them like, you're not making the right choice, see, because you're not, being a moral person, see, because blah, 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 not realizing that other person is trapped in their own prison of belief, in their own system that doesn't allow them
Frame
to
of
have those
reference.
choices.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to see things from outside your own frame of reference.
Yeah,
Mhm.
big time. Big time. It's really hard.
It might be impossible depending on how you're
It may
phrasing
be
it.
impossible.
Yeah.
But like you're talking about, Chesh has mentioned the word debrief about 17 times now. And I think maybe we should all be debriefing our thoughts about everything pretty much constantly.
You don't want to do it constantly because that's
not
exhausting.
Once a week.
Once a week.
There you go. Well, that's a lot. That's a big part of what therapy actually is.
Mhm.
Yes.
What do you got, Opie?
It's not
I
just
see a
having
humming over there.
processes or
I got
modalities
something,
applied to you,
Yeah.
So back to the initial topic of modern
Yeah.
society.
Yeah.
I guess religions. A big part about religions is that they're dogmatic, so they're very resilient to when it clashes with actual reality. But notice how constantly throughout history of religion, it reforms, it changes. The religions we have now is very different than 1,000 years ago. So it's slow moving, but it still updates. I mean, I see so many different churches with several pride flags, displayed outside of it, and that's very different than 30 years ago, you would say. So
it's a constantly changing thing, ever evolving, ever changing, and it always will be. It just
We
has
don't
to
talk
be
enough.
that way.
Yeah, we don't talk enough about the evolution of social evolution, because
Yeah.
we do. It is part of biological evolution. Social evolution is part of that, but we do not talk about it very much. It doesn't come up very much.
One
And
of my favorite ones of those was in Ramadan you're not allowed to eat during the day.
Oh yes, I know.
You can eat in the nighttime, but you can't eat during the day.
this. Yeah.
And this is all
that's a
in
good
Quran, and the Quran is the word of God, and you're not allowed to change any of it, right? But then some Muslims found themselves in Finland, where it's day for 9 months. The sun does not hit the ground for 9 months. So they wrote a letter to some gang of Sunni muftis, and the mufti says, you know what? Let's just say 8 o'clock.
Call it 8.
Exactly.
There's nothing in the Quran about let's just say 8 o'clock. It goes against everything in the Quran, but I'm thinking, yeah, fair play. Now you're talking. Now
Gotta
we're human. Well
That's
done.
right.
Orange Dot, who's been a member for 3 months at the amateur debater level, thank you so much, said, welcome back from vacation. Thank you. I have returned.
Oh, nice.
I've got some stories for later. But he also had another
Vacation
question that says, what does debrief mean in this context? And I guess I should probably
Okay.
define it a little bit. Basically what I'm talking about and what I mean is when you come out of a situation, you need to sort of process the situation that you were in and sort of analyze what you were doing and what you were thinking about and how you were thinking about it so you can make sure that you don't do those things again. And that's what I mean by a debrief. So I mean it in sort of a looser version of what they would do in a military, where somebody they send these guys all out to go do this job, and this job is PTSD inducing and they have to do all this stuff. They come out of the job and they have to debrief them and be like, all right, this is what you did. This is what was successful. This wasn't what was successful. Here's what we want to change. Now go take a nap and here's your therapy.
I mean,
I would like
after a
to-
sports game,
Yes. Yeah.
you know.
I'd like to add to that concept that it is an evolving process as well, not
Yes.
a one and done.
Yes.
Debrief implies a one and done. You're not saying that necessarily, but I'm putting out there it's not
Yeah.
a one and
Yes,
done.
it does.
Yeah.
That's why we call them onion layers, and it's
Yeah.
it's a continuing process. Another word for it might be, in the postmodernist sense, deconstruction.
Yes. Deconstruction
Uh,
would be a.
Yeah.
Another word
Definitely.
for it, right? But it's a process, and I don't know that it's a process that ever particularly has to end, because for me, at least, in the way I describe it, it really is the journey that's important, not the destination. There isn't a place you arrive to where, okay, good, now religion is all sorted for me. Now belief
Yeah.
is all sorted for me. Now I never have to think about it again. I mean, are you kidding me? What are you talking about, right?
Things
Well,
It's
also,
a-
ever,
it's a lot
as
of moving
you.
parts.
Yeah, you're just recontextualizing things on a regular
There's
basis.
a lot of moving
where,
parts
Yeah,
because everything moves around
exactly.
you as well, you know?
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So
Yep.
it's kind of like trauma. You can reevaluate it, but then 5 years later, other things happen to you, and you look again and you go, "Holy shit! I didn't think about it in this way."
Exactly.
Oh
yeah.
wow! And there's a whole nother layer, right, coming off. So that's happened to me so
I
many times over the years.
I worry that there are too many like self-help things out there that basically say you deal with this once you've processed this, you never thinking about it again, and if you do, you're doing it wrong or you're being toxic for talking about this thing that happened to you again. And the answer is no.
Yeah, no, that would be crazy. And also absolutist thinking, which is silly.
Yeah.
The human mind doesn't work that way, right? We are layered, and we are always thinking in
Yeah.
shades of gray and nuance.
Did you ever?
It's really a real problem for us to be absolutist thinkers. I've never seen good things result from absolutist thinking.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a movie called The Babadook?
Called what?
The Babadook.
Yes,
It's
love that
It's an
movie.
Australian horror movie. It's incredible. It's
Yes.
absolutely incredible because it explains all this using horror movie ideas. It explains this whole idea. There's this monster, and the monster, they tell you pretty much at the start, the monster represents the grief over the dead guy, right?
Okay.
So this
Mhm.
monster's haunting this family and blah, blah, blah. And they do everything they can to fight it, and they keep beating the shit out of this monster. And they're saying, look, if we just get rid of this monster. And then in the last part of the movie, she figures out what she's doing is she's taking care of the monster. The monster's in the basement, which, by the way, a little on the nose, you know, as metaphors go. The monster's in the basement, and she takes care of it. She gives it a little bit of food every so often, and she takes care of it. And that's how you deal with these things. You can't, like the trauma, you can't just sort of say, okay, now your trauma's fixed. What you do is you make it a part of yourself, and you take care of that part of yourself forever, like you should do with
Right.
every other part of yourself. That's all you can do. And if
Also-
you think you've beaten it, you're in trouble, because now it has control over you.
Yeah,
Big
and
part of-
and
Anyway, it's a good
and-
movie if you want that explained.
And the other thing about that also I might add is there's no reason to be in fear. Another metaphor from the movie, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason to be in fear of yourself. It's something that happened to
Yeah.
you. Experiences happened to you. They sucked, but over time, again, time and space, you can come to accept rather than I'm afraid of that. Must not.
I
look
have a
at it."
really
Yeah.
good analogy for this, but I want to hear what Opie says and then I'll go.
Oh, with grief, I was talking to somebody because, like, I don't know, I've dealt with some pretty bad stuff, but I found other similar people, and they came to the conclusion that you kind of have to surrender to grief at some point. You can't just keep clawing away from it. You're just gonna make yourself hurt more. So
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
My analogy that I've heard that I think is the best one for it, and it kind of applies to anything that you don't like. The thing is, it also applies to things that you do like. So it's kind of sad, I guess. Depends on how you view it and what you're applying it to. Is that whatever happens is this big? It takes up this percentage of your life when it's going on and when it happened. And as your life gets bigger and as your experiences get more and more and more, it stays the same size, but the world, it doesn't take up the same amount of space in everything that you've experienced anymore. So whether it be grief, it's not that the grief is any worse, it's just, and it's not even any smaller, it's just there's just more. So
the
you
nice
can
part about
revisit
it
it
is
whenever
it's
you want.
spreading thinner, so it's not as dense too.
Yeah.
when
It
it's
doesn't take
spinning
as much
out
as
that
your
far.
space. It's the same as thinking, like, if you need a different kind of comparison, it's the same as thinking about the difference in time and how long an hour feels to you as a child and as a teenager, and then as a 20-year-old, as a 30-year-old, as a 50-year-old. How long, like, what does an hour feel like? And sometimes it
Yeah.
feels really long, and sometimes it feels really short. But it's never the same as when you're waiting as a child for something, and you've got to wait a whole hour. That's like 20% of my life so far. What the fuck?
Yes, it is funny how our sense of time changes over time. That's funny. I
Right?
love Smitty's comments about all the absolute stuff. That was hilarious.
Oh,
Um,
the reason why there was there was a downfall in the Senate is because we didn't get to have Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker in a proper publicized network TV debate.
There you go. There you go. But as far as I guess, as far as getting back to that original question of religion having outlived its utility, I'm going to say that societies change and go through arcs, and during the time of conflict or during the time of, you know, tumultuousness like we're experiencing right now, where we may be in a time, I'm really not sure that we are, to be honest with you, when you really go big picture historical. But it appears, and a lot of people think right now, we're on a bit of a downward arc of our society. And certainly there's a lot of fires, you know, right now. And during those times, religion flourishes because people are not, the reason why you have that one of the things that happens that causes this downward trend or this downfall of a society is distrust in societal institutions and government institutions, and people are looking for something to trust, and when they can't trust the material human people in front of them, that they still need something
Gotta go
has
somewhere.
to fill that vacuum, you know.
Yeah.
And that's where God or cult leaders or strongmen or this messaging
Or
comes in
or whatever,
that
yeah.
people, you know, gravitate
have-
to. And religion's always going to be there as an answer for people in those situations, because when they can't count on people, well, you can always count on God.
I have a question for you guys, because I don't know if this is if you could foresee this better than I could, but when you get used to something and when something is doing its job right, you don't know it's doing anything. So if you take medication for something and then you start feeling good and then you go, oh, I don't need this medication anymore. And then it all turns out, yeah, you did. So is it possible that because religion over like historical, like Opie brought up earlier, has shifted and changed and is no longer the same kind of stuff, and it has adapted to society to fit itself more comfortably, is it possible that there are parts of religion that if we just turned it off, it's like, wait, that was the thing that was doing what it needed to do, so we didn't notice it was
Yeah, very much so. Exactly that. Because when you look at the bad parts or the abusive nature of certain parts of religion or religious practice, you know, you go, wow, this is a moral outrage. I'm disgusted. I'm sickened. I can't believe this. The hypocrisy, the abuse. Oh my God. But are you also looking at the same time, and we're really, really, really bad at this. We really suck at this, right? Are you also looking at, okay, you're right. Abusive, you know, child stuff and this and that, that's horrible. And when it's institutionalized, that's horrible. But to think that that's all that's going on, if you don't also at the same time as you're looking at that and making evaluations like religion doesn't have a place in society, how much charity work did the Catholic Church do last year? How many homeless people did they home? How many people were saved from poverty or homelessness or destitution by Catholic charities? Now, I don't know the answer to that question, but I know it's a big number. So,
and not just
around
impact
there, and it's not a justification or rationalization for abuse, obviously, but it's a part of the well-rounded picture of it. Right?
Yeah, because you want to
big things like that. There's like barbecues, you know, how much of barbecues at a church just like save people, you know, entirely. So
I'll tell you, the human connection that social bonding provides at churches. The atheist world, and I've been in it for 10 years. I'm not hypercritical and I'm not hateful of atheists, but they do tend to focus a little narrowly on this bad and ignore or negate or yeah to the good stuff, because they're like, yeah, we can do that without the religion. And I go, can you?
Then
Can
do
you
it.
really? Can you? Yeah, please go
Mhm.
do it. Show me what that looks like.
Yeah.
On a big, broad scale. Show me what that looks like. And I haven't particularly seen a really good answer to that
The
challenge.
thing is, like, the church doing good stuff, whichever religion you pick, is not an argument to allow it to continue to do bad stuff. What it is
Oh,
to
no.
acknowledge that it exists, these good things and bad things. So how do we take the good stuff and prevent the abusive problems? And just getting rid of a belief system is
Don't
not
throw
the
the
answer. That's
baby
not going to
out
fix
with the
that,
bathwater.
right? Yeah,
Exactly, because
that's too easy.
Ultimately, very rarely are the beliefs themselves the actual problem. Now, I know this is a controversial statement, but look at how many peaceful Muslims there are. If Islam was a religion of violence and radicalized terrorism, and that's all it was, then how come the vast majority of Muslims are not that? Right? It automatically nullifies this assertion.
Yeah.
Same thing with Catholics, same thing with evangelicals or this or that or the other thing. Although
any power structure
I do have a big
chip
on my shoulder about evangelicals, but especially MAGA Christian nationalists. That I believe is where we get into cult territory.
Well,
and cults are a different
That's
thing from
the part,
religion. They're not all the same thing, right?
It's one of those things.
I think we need to say that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, maybe there needs to be policy in government that says something along the lines relating to like audits and taxes on churches that say, okay, where's your money going and what are you doing? So that way there's sort of like a who watches the watchers sort of situation.
Yeah, we suck at that in America. We definitely created a sort of foundational, our foundational documents have been interpreted in such a way that have made abusive religious organizations or groups be able to get away with an awful lot of nonsense that they shouldn't be able to get away with. But it's not a distinctly American problem, is it? Right? No. It's not like there are not cults or off the rails religions in Europe, in China, in Japan, in Australia. They just did a whole Royal Commission investigation of cults down there. And finally, we have a government body down there saying, hey, coercive control laws should actually apply to these groups too, not just domestic violence situations. This is huge, and it just happened last week. So there is a forward progress of governmental, inquiry and regulations coming when it comes to coercive control laws being applied to these groups. And that's the kind of thing that will wrangle in the bad behavior to try to censor belief. I mean, you're just
if I wanted to be a dick, if I wanted to be aggressive, I'm not gonna be a dick, but I'm gonna be aggressive. If I wanted to be aggressive about what like the atheist communities online say they want, then they're not doing the things that are conducive to get that to be done. They'd rather fight a boogeyman about arguing nonsense that you do not need to argue about to get the result that you're trying to get. You're wasting your fucking time.
I would agree with that, which is why I kind of moved on from that community as such. I'm still an atheist, but
they never liked me anyway.
Smitty's been talking about the
I was always too
Bible,
contrarian too. I was always pissing people off. So, but I kind of do that.
So Smitty's been talking about the beliefs and things in the Bible, but I guess if we read the Bible by ourselves, you'd find all kinds of bad stuff in there. But I don't know, every time I've been to a Catholic mass, the sermons are never all the problematic ones. It's always all the virtue developing and cultivating ones for some lesson involved.
Well, what are we going to do? Ban the Bible? We're going to start banning books now because it's got some shit in it we disagree with?
I don't know.
No.
I guess in practice, I don't see the bad parts of the Bible being even discussed, really. You kind of just let those be from past writing,
Well, it all has to do with interpretation too, though, doesn't it?
Yes.
Every group interprets this book in wildly different ways. And I think our arguments, become very limited when we make broad statements that this passage in the Bible is harmful, really? Is it? Or is it this group's interpretation of that passage? And this is, endlessly been debated for centuries. That
Gotta
we're
call
not going to settle
Kip
that
in.
debate today, but it's a point to be made that is it the words or is it the interpretation and the context of that interpretation? Bill Gothard takes the 7 biblical principles, that he supposedly draws from the Bible, and his interpretation of it to create a system of child abuse.
Right.
That's possible with the Bible. It's possible with the Quran. It's possible with the Torah. It's possible with Dianetics, the modern science of mental health.
You could probably really do it with a Dr. Seuss set of books if you really wanted to.
You actually could. So it really all depends on context and interpretation. And I know that's not a satisfactory answer for people who want simple answers, but this is not a simple subject, and it doesn't open itself up to simple answers. It just doesn't. Religion is
the Bible is
complicated.
Convenient. The Bible is a convenient excuse. Again, we were not at that point when you start discussing the individual beliefs or even the group beliefs of any individual church and then start saying, oh, Catholics this or Christians that. You've already broadened the brush so wide, and you're still not discussing or making any headway on the thing that you want to make headway on, allegedly, which is not abusive situations for people. If what you want is not abusive situations for people,
in your own local location too.
Right, exactly.
That's right.
It's like that's the real part that you really need to be worrying about.
Yeah.
That's right. In fact, that highlights another point I wanted to make today, which is that
not that we shouldn't have these discussions, by the way.
No.
I love it. Projection is not something that just happens in movie theaters, right? So we do that. Yeah, I know. I love saying that.
I like that. That's good.
But it's true. It is, right? Just like, denial's not a river in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
It's a thing. We all do it. And so, and also we also lose perspective of the time, because Christianity, for example, right? Fundamentalist Christianity is something that's only existed for about 100, 120 years. Before that, Christianity was really different.
Yeah.
And they weren't fundamentalists, and they didn't teach their children or do things to their kids the same way. And I'm not saying there have not been abusive periods or abusive groups in the history of Christianity. It's 2,000 fucking years old. There's a ton of abuse that this group has, done. But so have governments, so has education, so has any other human group you want to talk about. To single out religion as singularly destructive is, I think, an intellectually vacuous argument ultimately, although I used to agree with it 100%, so I get where people are coming from with it.
I think
the same
it's
thing
just
with
one
saying the state is universally a bad thing too. Like
It's rough. Hey Barry, welcome back.
Welcome back.
I just take care of my dad, so I had to do Brian stuff.
Oh
yeah, no, I muted it for you, so you didn't have to worry about anything coming through.
Cool.
I'm a professional.
Yeah, we were just talking about basically the nuance of religion in history, and how people will tend now to project that their group is every group, and that how it is now is how it's always been.
Yeah.
And I was trying to make the point that over 2,000 years, you got a lot of abusive shit going on in religion, but to think that now, how it is now and how it is with you was the only way it's ever been is is not a good place to
God's Auditor has an interesting, what if we shift the lens of the question? And what if we shift the lens of the question from the viewpoint that religion is just a tool for class warfare, basically?
Yeah, it can be used for that, but that's not all it is.
It can be, yeah. But if we shift the question, which is, does religion have a place in modern society, through the lens that religion is a tool to be utilized to mold society one way or another, because you can use a tool poorly or well, that would then not change the answer to, no, you should in fact be utilizing it. Why would you get rid of a perfectly good tool?
Well,
why don't we just use it better?
Well, this is really a great question, because it really gets to the function of it. How do you organize, unify, and control, for lack of a better word, motivate, right? Incentivize large groups of people? How do you do it? Well, we've come up with a few different answers, and none of them actually are completely satisfactory to anybody. Everybody's always got something to say about all these things, but when you come down to how do you do this, you want to get everybody on the same page, but you don't want it to be a cult.
Right.
And good luck, right?
And you don't
So
want
you
it
want
to be
everybody
too
to have free
oppressive.
will and
Yeah.
independent thinking and think for themselves, but you want everybody unified around a common message, and you want everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
Start, right?
I'm looking at
And-
Smitty's comment, which I think is a great one. Is that why don't we use false beliefs to make people behave the way we want is certainly a take. What do you mean? We believe fake things all the time. You
All
think
the
people
time.
believe the truth? No.
But people have to have what's called spiritual sustenance.
Sure.
They have to. Now, I call it an emotional need. I don't differentiate between emotional needs and spiritual needs, but some people
Sure.
do, and that's fine. You can draw a line there. I understand it. The difference is
Yeah.
between, affective, emotional needs, right? Stuff we like ego and, safety and justice and things like that, versus a spiritual need, which crosses the line over into existential issues. Why am
Yeah.
I here? What's the meaning of life? Do I have a meaning or a purpose? But you're going to find one for one, if people don't have some kind of answer to that question, they're going to feel empty inside. There are very, very, very few people who don't experience that. So something has to go there. And we can use nationalism. We can use, like patriotism, nationalism sort of themes to fill those voids of existential need. Or we can use religious themes. And it just so happens that when you bring the supernatural into it, it fits like a puzzle piece with existential needs. And there you go, right? It's the simplest solution to a very, very difficult problem. And that's
it's
why
like-
it's always going to be with us.
And it's almost
you know?
wholly. It's like the thing with a lot of religions is they are almost wholly social activities, almost entirely like social group activities going towards a cause. And sometimes those causes are directed to good things. Sometimes those causes are directed towards bad things. Sometimes those causes are directed to both of those things at the same time. Because you can be the best person in the world about one thing and still like kick puppies in your spare time. Like
That's right. That's right. It's we're kind of amazing that way. How multi-layered we are
humans
as
are terrifying.
as people because we're capable of maintaining two completely conflicting ideas at the same time. We're
Yep.
capable of that.
Yes.
We do it all the time, right?
I had
and
somebody.
we're never
oh
going to
my
not
God.
do that.
I
right?
arrived
Because-
at the
because it's-
cottage. I arrived at
It's
the
so
cottage.
it
I
was such
arrived
a
at the
fun-
top. Sorry, go ahead. Go. I'm sorry. I'll stop. I'm sorry. I'm gonna piss him off. Go ahead. Go.
No, I'm just trying to make the point that it's so
I'm
funny
sorry, make your
because we
point.
can- because we can critically think, we can believe in flat Earth,
Right.
right? We
Yes.
can reason our way into that.
Oh,
And if you try
the-
to take
the
away
other-
the ability to do flat Earth, you take away the ability to imagine, right? So it doesn't really work out.
the smarter we are, the harder it is for us to change our minds too, because we'll find every
Yeah.
reason not to change it.
That's right. That's right. That's why smart people stick in cults and stupid people usually eject very quickly if they get involved at all. I did not know very many stupid Scientologists.
People need to stop
You know?
thinking they're logical. People need to understand the order of events. You're logical last.
Oh yeah,
You're
no.
logical last. You're logical last. People don't believe me. Your logic is last. It's the last thing that happens. And your logic is mostly just used to justify how you feel and then what you did. There's your order of events.
Correct.
That's scary though. I don't like that.
Exactly.
It is.
That's right.
And
That's what
you
my
know
whole
who's
REM
the,
model's all about.
you know who's
Same
the
thing.
last person to know you did something? You.
In a lot of ways. In a lot of ways. We are very, very interesting that way. You know, and I think it's better to think about this stuff without the value judgments. I really think it's helpful to think about this without having to put it in a good or a bad box.
Yes.
It just is what it is, right? We are what we are, and I just think it's a more rational and nuanced place to think about things without having to put those labels on it all the time.
Yeah, well, it's like talking
you know?
about religion
Obviously,
as a tool.
abuse is bad. I don't mean I don't
you
mean
s-
obviously bad stuff. You know what I mean?
if you shift the idea from religion being like a homogenous group of people doing bad things because you think they believe in the wrong thing, and shift that lens to religion is a tool utilized by society, not by an individual in society. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get like a dictator who starts utilizing a specific religion for da-da-da-da-da-da, that's fine. Or whatever form of government. But instead of viewing it as a tool to be utilized by an overlording hanging group and view it as a tool that society has developed on its own to help manage itself and its needs, that has some things in it because it's not perfect. It's societal evolution. You're gonna get things that stick and do better and last longer, and things that don't fucking work and then fall out of popularity. And you're gonna have a way healthier way of trying to get what you want. What is it that you want from your criticism of religion? Is it that you want less abuse to happen from the churches that are in your vicinity? Great, you can do that. But when you externalize it as if it is just like this big homogenous group that you couldn't possibly actually do anything to, and religion has now just become this all bad boogeyman, you can't do anything about it. And now guess what? You're believing something that's not true. Because that's not what it is, and that's not how it works.
That's right.
It's too easy.
That's right. Well, that's why the non-nuanced guys like Matt Dillahunty really just annoy me at this point, you know, because I'm just kind of like, dude.
I got another one, boys.
There's a survivorship bias about it too.
Yes.
We're constantly seeing all of the bad shit be brought up constantly, and not any of the good stuff, you know. So
that's right. That's right.
Orange Dot says
It's
people getting yelled at for attempting logic on a philosophy show.
It's a lot like how Scientology deals with psychiatry. It's very similar to how atheists deal with religion is a lot like how Scientology deals with and I'm painting it when I so broad a brush when I say atheist. So I really mean the
Can you explain this
hostile
Scientology with psychiatry thing? That's kind of cool. What is it? What do they do with that?
Oh,
what do they say about
Scientology despises psychiatry. There is no good psychiatrist. There is no good psychiatry. It is an operation designed to control, manipulate, and murder you. That's what Scientologists think about psychiatry. And there's a whole
so basically the tools to wiggle yourself out of it.
You know?
Yeah, there's an entire division of the Church of Scientology called the Citizens Commission for Human Rights that exists solely and only to destroy psychiatry as a profession. And
sounds like such a great organization, doesn't it? And the title of the organization is pretty cool.
CCHR, yeah. Their logo is cool. They have a whole museum in Los Angeles you can go through, which is Psychiatry and Industry of Death. Yeah. And it is so narrow focused on every single bad thing that any psychiatrist has ever done anywhere. And admittedly, the history is pretty brutal. But it's the history, it's not the current. And I'm not even like an apologist for all the current stuff that's going on, because they are too liberal with the medications. But to say it's all bad, which is what Scientology does, is throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? There's no nuance. And so anybody who has actually helped with psychotropic medications, nah, that's just, they're faking it. They don't, you know,
as
there's
if
no
there's
answer
not
for those people.
Bad things that psychology has had to do to learn to be able to do anything that we've ever developed that has been good is part of societal evolution. And you know how we do this? By throwing human suffering at it until we don't feel like we need to anymore, and it's good enough as it is. And then we make smaller developments, and we're not a rush. Some of the psychology experiments of the 60s and 70s will tell you everything you need to know about that. If you want to know about dentistry or any of like a good number of like the machines that we use to keep people alive, manufacturing, and how much bad human suffering has been thrown at the machine, or like the Industrial Revolution, we just throw human suffering at shit because you know what we have a whole lot of that we could a resource that we have that we can throw at things. Humans. Throw humans
I'm very
at
glad.
it.
So I've been a machinist for like 15 years, and I'm very glad that automation's finally kicking in, that there's less and less people needing to do this kind of shit. So
yeah.
So
Well, we are getting towards the end of the show. Do you guys think you can
Yeah.
you can surmise your argument to why yes or no in 3 points or less? Like bullet point it? Could you do it? Could you do it? We'll let Barry go last so he can kind of catch up. Oh, but you go first. We'll go in this.
3 points. Okay. So is religion has no utility place in society?
Has no place in modern society. Yeah.
It has a place because it's community. Has a place because people get a emotional, spiritual connection to it, and that's a void that we always need to fill somehow. And third point, not all religion bad. There we go. Done.
Nice. Chris, what do you get?
I think that religion is an inherent part of us in our mental processes. The psychology of how we operate in groups and individually requires something to fill certain voids in our thinking and what provides us meaning and purpose. And some people can find purpose and meaning in secular things, but some people can't. And for those who are satisfied with a secular world, they project their satisfaction onto everybody else and says, well, if I can do it, everybody else can. That's my basic challenge is, no, you're wrong. Just because you can doesn't mean everybody else can. And I think that basic assumption in the atheist world is the cause of a great deal of illogical thinking following from that. And that's the basic idea I have to communicate today.
That's good. Barry, what do you think?
The fuck am I supposed to follow that? I'll tell you, my position is evolving. At the start of this show, I felt that religion has no place in society because all of the good parts of religion can be sufficiently addressed by non-religious stuff. But what Chris just said is, no, they can't. You are wrong. So now what I have is an evolving opinion, and I'm starting to think that maybe I had the wrong approach at the start of this episode, and let me think about it a little bit more, okay?
You know what
just
might be
want
a
to
good
genocide
idea.
different religions.
You know what might...
Yeah. I'm serious, by the way. I'm serious about that. I think I might have to change that opinion.
No,
that's
that's fine. What we might want to do is it might be worthwhile to do a discussion/debate between Barry and Chris, and Barry can
we
make
tried that. Nobody gives a shit.
Wait. No, yeah, but that was without me, and you can't do it without me.
Yeah.
True.
But then
I'm always down
at
for
least
discussions
Barry
about
could.
this.
Yeah, at least Barry then could sort of formulate his argument and then just see if it gets absolutely obliterated just for funsies.
No,
Yeah,
it'd be fun, and
obliterate me,
I would love to be
senpai.
obliterated too. By the way, I'd
Yeah.
love to be. I think it would be fun.
I am here. I am more than happy to set up two men to watch them obliterate each other.
No.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's the modern
God's
world, isn't
auditor is completely correct there. Darth Dawkins is
Trust women.
Oh yeah,
is the epitome of genius.
Well,
Darth Dawkins.
all right. I'll go last. I think that whether or not what was it? Religion doesn't have a place in modern society. I think the question is so malformed that it doesn't recognize what society is and it doesn't recognize what religion is. I think if you reframe your thought process around what you think those things are and spend some time thinking and actually digging into what those are, and you bring societal evolution into it, I do think religion has a place. It needs to be curtailed and it needs to be maintained like any good tool does need to be done. And it needs to go through an evolutionary process where some things fit and some things don't. And the thing is we're not the same humans that lived X number of years ago. We've certainly learned from them and we've got that information we can draw from. But sometimes you don't learn something until you try it. And sometimes we're dumb and we forget things. So we try something that we know isn't going to work because we're different. We're special. So,
Right.
and sometimes it's just a necessary part of society, growing up.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I wanted to add real fast.
Yeah.
Just as a recommend to everybody watching the show now or in the future, if you can check out John Romer's documentary series called Testament. It was made in the 80s. I had to kind of scour and find it, but I could not recommend a history of the Bible and the history of that work from Judaism through Christianity. I can't recommend it highly enough. It will change your view and perspective on that book and religion in general and its function in the early times and how that book came about. I had very little real factual information about it. And the documentary really helped fill in some blanks. And if you go earlier than that to not just Christianity, but religion in general, and all the way pre-civilization religion and how religion evolved, this whole subject will just make so much more sense. Hyper focusing on Christianity or Islam as these terrible, terrible things in our society, it misses the broader point of what religion is to the rest of the world and what it has been in our past. And I think that brings a lot more clarity to this picture that might help people who are struggling with it.
Yeah.
Let me put that out there.
You're muted, Chesh.
Okay.
You're muted.
I was doing so good. I said I think that's a great note to end on. I'm gonna make sure Chris's stuff is linked in the doodly-doo down below. Go check out.
I have just added Chris's new book, What Now, to my Amazon basket.
Fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And I encourage you to do the same.
Barry, are you writing anything anywhere right now?
No, right now, man, I'm taking care of my
He's
dad. I can't concentrate on shit.
Yeah, no, valid. I just
24/7, like all night last night. I didn't get any sleep last night. I was up with him all night.
Yeah. Opie,
So
you
I
got
can't
anything you're working
concentrate
on?
on anything.
Chill.
Not right now.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there then. We'll be back live here soon, TM. There's a couple of discussions going on. We've got ones we're working on setting up about the singularity of when AI becomes sentient, or a computer becomes sentient. That'll be a good one. Chris is joining us for that. We have another one coming up about talking about how nuclear energy is seems to be the current direction that a lot of governments are heading into, and seeing how applicable that is. I have at least 2 nuclear engineers and a mathematician coming on. And maybe FTFE will come. I'm not sure. He didn't get back to me. I don't know, he's busy, and then I was on vacation, so he might join us. He might surprise pop in.
Awesome.
Apparently the pub is happening tonight. That was supposed to happen last week. I don't know how the
6
last
p.m.
Saturday of the month turned into the first Saturday of the month. I don't know if I'm gonna be there. I don't know what Manya's got planned, so you're going to be just as surprised as I am when we show up. And so there's a bunch of other stuff hanging out. If you want to do a debate, and join us next month for whether or not we can separate patriarchy out of society at large. This is going to be a wacky conversation. Right? This is going to be a crazy conversation. Just Chris want in? Chris, do you want in? Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about it. Maybe Chris will just become a staple here, depending on what he's
I'll
up
do
to.
my best.
We'll talk about it. We'll see if we want to vote you onto the island.
All right. Well, I definitely look forward to the AI talk.
Yes, and we're going to be talking more Scientology stuff. The 13th,
Yes, we are. Looking forward to that.
Yes, it's going to be great. Go check out Chris's stuff.
Cool.
Links in the description down below, and go check out his YouTube channel, which is also down below.
Thanks,
Say
guys.
goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.